So, the new Samsung Galaxy S10, featuring a triple camera setup in the back, being one of them an ultra-wide, very similar to a 15mm lens on a full-frame camera, which is a very commonly used focal length when shooting interiors. So, can this phone actually be used to shoot a property? Let's find out. I'm going to try to push this phone to the max. So first I'm going to go outside, I'm going to do some exterior shots. Phones these days can do pretty well with the right light, so I'm expecting the phone to perform very good on the outside. And then I'm going to move on the inside and see if the phone can handle the difference between the highlights and the shadows when shooting interior shots, when shooting rooms, etc. And see if this phone can actually match or produce some decent results compared to my DSLR. So let's go. So as you can see, the original file looks pretty good with nice colors, nice contrasts, and the overall look is pretty nice, needing very little tweaking to get the images looking very nice and very closely matched to my full-frame Sony a7 III. I only needed to correct the verticals, do some slight adjustments to exposure, contrast and color, and voila. On the inside though, it's a completely different story. As you can see by this example, the image straight out of the phone doesn't look very pleasing, the white balance is completely off and the image looks very grainy and very blotchy, even though this is a very bright and very white bedroom. That shouldn't represent a big challenge to the phone's ability to get it right. Overall, on the inside, the images look very flat, very muddy, and have a nasty green tint to it. Now, you can shoot RAW, but unfortunately, it's only available for the standard camera and not the ultra-wide, which is very unfortunate for this kind of photography. On the video side, it's more or less of the same. The phone will perform very nice on the outside, not so great on the inside, although you can still apply a light grade to the images to try to correct for the white balance and some other issues and get some fairly decent results out of it. The phone could do with some very nice features that are missing, like the ability to lock the white balance, to lock the exposure, and especially to use higher frame rates like 60p or more, but unfortunately you can only use 60p with the standard camera. You can also use the super steady mode and holding the phone, though it's not perfect as you can see, and the field of view will narrow to a very similar field of view to the standard camera. This is me running just for the sake of example, so not very usable. I would recommend you to always use a gimbal if you plan on using this phone for video. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that you should use a phone to shoot a property, at least not professionally anyway. But the thing is, the ultra-wide camera in this phone is actually a pretty perfect fit for this kind of photography, so it's kind of unfortunate that the results weren't any better on the interior shots. Although I think the main culprit is that HDR effect. I've checked on the settings several times that it was turned off, but for some strange reason it always gets applied in the final image, and it just kills the contrast and it just makes the quality of the image look worse. It makes the colors look bad, so Samsung, please fix this in a future firmware update. Also, make it possible for us to shoot in Pro mode with the other two cameras, so we can get RAW files for the ultra-wide and the telephoto as well. Now on the video side, as you saw, it's pretty much the same case. Good performance on the exterior, not that great on the interior. But one of the most frustrating things I found is that I'm stuck with 1080p at 30 frames a second, and I can only use 60 frames a second with the standard camera, not the ultra-wide. And using 60 frames a second would really help by slowing the footage down, ironing out some of the bumps, and just making the overall image look smoother and more cinematic. So here you go. This is basically my review of the Samsung S10 for real estate photography and videography. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, it really helps. And if you want to see some more content regarding this kind of photography and videography, Please subscribe and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you soon.